I cast Hold Person on the cult leader.
And I shall confer blessing upon the paladin.
So, you getting the Switch too?
Nah, I want to own the games I own, you know what I'm saying?
Why, you don't own the rest of the stuff you got? And I shall attack with non-lethal damage, that we might question this knave further.
Okay, that's a hit. And he is well beyond staggered. Barbarian, your turn.
I attack with my +2 Great Axe of Cleaving to rend them in two.
No!
That's a crit. What's he got on him?
Oh, I check his pockets.
We've all had players that have lost their focus, and we've all been players that have lost our focus. Here are 3.75 ways to keep your players focused on the game at hand.
Stay tuned till the end of the video for a free Dungeon Master resource.
First is set clear goals. We've all played in games where at the first start of the session, or maybe even halfway through, we've said, wait, what were we doing here? We've lost the plot. And when players lose the plot, they lose the initiative to go pursue that plot. If they don't have a clear goal, they're going to meander. The goal needs to be clear, and not just the strategic long-term goal, the tactical next step. Now, in the case of there being some sort of mystery element, of course, this can't be the case. They just need to know what their goal is, but you need to sprinkle the clues close enough together so that they can follow them to their desired end. You can also replace the word goal with threat. There's a reason why Matt Colville says orcs attack. You're a clear threat in front of them to focus their attention, help them regain the plot, so to speak. You need a clear goal or the plot will meander. Next, raise the stakes. Again, orcs attack puts a threat of fire under them. Something that threatens the life of player characters or the life of beloved NPCs, or has some sort of great boon that they want to achieve, a magic weapon or something like that. If you raise the stakes that the players care about, stakes that the players believe will come to pass. If you say, well, the world will end, if you're not planning to pull a Final Fantasy VI, that's not going to really raise the stakes that much. You need to have stakes that the players believe you'll follow through on if they fail. When you implement those stakes, the focus increases because they don't want to suffer the repercussions. Next, less downtime. Now, sometimes downtime is good. Sometimes the players want downtime to go shopping, get magic items, get to know the world, get to know the NPCs, role play their characters. That's fine. But there's always going to be a lack of focus when that happens because there's no stakes, there's no pressure, there's no reason to focus. Less downtime means more focus. And if you're okay with them losing focus, that's fine. Have your downtime, have your shopping spree. But if you want your players to focus, less downtime is one of the solutions. And you can do that in a few different ways. First of all, you can involve all or most of the PCs in all of the activities. I mean, this is one of the things you lose when you split the party. And it's not necessarily the case that all of the players need to be involved directly. Mystic Arts brought up the idea of dramatic tension with the character 1's father interacting with character 2. Now, character 1 is focusing on this story even though he's not in it. That was Mystic Arts' idea, and it is a fantastic one. But as much as you can, have the game affect all of the player characters, or as many as you can with each scene. If the world ignores their character, you can't really blame them if they're going to ignore the world. Next, just ask what they do next. Real easy thing. When people start getting distracted, start focusing on things outside the game, just get them back on track by saying, hey, what do y'all do next? Do y'all do this or do y'all do that? Do y'all want to pursue this thing that y'all expressed earlier in the session you were planning on doing? And it doesn't have to be, passive aggressive or snide. It's just you're asking them what they do. This can work in two ways. Either you ask the party what they do as a whole, or you turn to the individual that's not really being included much or not really inserting themselves and say, so what's your character up to right now? And that will get the wheels spinning and they'll start interacting with stuff. Finally, create a time crunch. Really the culmination of no downtime, when the time is ticking into the future and you gotta go or you're gonna fail. My favorite example of this, and this brings in the high stakes, it brings in a clear goal, and it brings in involving all of the PCs, and it's a time crunch. My favorite story from this, of a game that I've run, the players were in the city of the dead, the place where dead beings go to await the judgment day. And in this place, they cannot die. Every time they're reduced to 0 hit points, they fall at a checkpoint zone with half hit points and none of their resources restored. But what seems like a recipe for low stakes all changed when they fought a group of shadows. Now, shadows don't decrease your hit points, they decrease your strength. And when any stat in D&D is reduced to 0, the player dies. One of the characters, the bard, he was reduced to 0 strength. And as a result, he died and he came back, but wait, all that happened was he got half his hit points back. The strength would only come back after a short rest, and I had told them at the beginning of the game, if anyone rests in this land, they will belong to it forever. So I told him, if your character continues in this death spiral for 1 hour, you will lose that character. He will be dead forever, and he will belong to the land of the dead. I took out my phone, I set a timer for 1 real-world hour, I put it down, and I said, go. Suddenly, a slow, methodical slog through an overpowered dungeon turned into a beeline where they were cheesing every trap, dodging every fight, and zigging and zagging their way, using their characters' proficiencies and abilities to get to the center of the city where they could climb the tower and talk to the king of the city of the dead and beg for their release and for the life of their friend. They had a clear goal at the center with the tower in the middle of this city, and they had a time crunch pushing them to do it, and all the player characters were involved. Every single character had to get to the center of this tower, and it definitely involved the guy who was dying. Everything about his character he'd worked on for all these sessions depended on this moment. They're not fighting things, they're just running past them because the clock's ticking and that guy's about to die. Finally, they get to the last room of the tower, and it's a riddle. I paused the clock with less than 2 seconds left, and I said, all right guys, I'm going to read you this riddle, and then I'm going to hit go, and you have to answer the riddle within the time allotted. And I had devised a devious trick. My wife, in previous sessions, had gone through this room 2 times before in 2 other games, and both times she has had the opportunity to answer this same riddle. So I switched it up. I changed the riddle subtly so that the answer that she's used to giving would be the wrong one. So I asked the riddle. I hit go. My wife's like, oh, I forget. My cousin is like, oh, it's this. And I'm like, yes! And they make it into the city, or into the king's chamber, just as the clock runs out. They get their friend back. In the last split second, everybody was focused. There was nobody on their phone. It was a down-to-the-wire, white-knuckle experience from the moment he hit 0 strength. Their goal was clear. Get to the center. And it was high stakes. They had no downtime. It involved all the PCs. It had a big time crunch. It brought all of the ideas together. And while you don't need to incorporate all of them like that did, incorporating just a few of these ideas, even if it's just asking your players what they do next, can help keep your players on track for your next session. I've been DM Sleeper. This has been Campaign Craft, and I hope it helps you craft your campaign.
Click the link in the description for the random table I used to come up with new dungeons.